Hello friends, welcome back to As a Man Thinketh on Unasa TV. How many of you have heard of Oakrun Solar? If you haven't, it's actually a pretty fascinating story. At the center of it all just happens to be one of the largest landowners in the United States, Bill Gates. We all love Billy, right?
Many of you have noticed that we keep wearing these leather patch hats that say defend the right to farm on them. These leather patch hats support our nonprofit, Meet My Neighbor Productions. You can get your hat at Unasa Trading Co. and help us defend the right to farm through education, outreach, and, as we've been doing over the last couple of years, farm relief efforts. So get your leather patch hat and let others know that you defend the right to farm.
So Oakrun Solar is a project that is planned for Plumwood, Ohio. Bill Gates is not actually the developer of the solar project. He's just simply the owner of the land, or one of his bazillion LLCs to cover up his ownership owns the land. I think the actual LLC is Midwest Farms LLC. And of the 6,000 acres, they would be leasing about 4,400 acres of it. So most of it. But this battle to make this solar project happen could have a ruling that reshapes how these projects are handled across the United States and impact all of rural America. This is an 800 megawatt project that would cover over 6,000 acres of some of the Midwest's richest cropland. We are literally taking 6,000 acres of very productive land for producing food for the billions of people on this planet and turning it into a solar farm. Now, they promised to have some animal grazing on it and in between the solar panels. You know how that works. I have some great news for you. The Unasa Ama Ranch herd share program on our pasture-raised pork is up and running. You could get a herd share in a quarter, half, or a whole animal. These are heritage red wattle hogs. Your herd share helps support the operations of the ranch while providing you with an opportunity to have humanely raised heritage meat the way it should be. For more information on our herd share program, check out Unasa Trading Co.'s meat section and learn how you can become an owner in our herd share. And arguably, you know, there are people who think that solar doesn't have an impact on the land, but it actually does. It creates a heat island, and in many ways, it ends up disrupting the microbials and the soil makeup because of that heat island. It is not a low impact thing on the environment. Whoever sold you on that concept is complete BS. What's interesting about Oakrun Solar is that the rural neighbors, the farmers, they definitely don't want it there. They don't. A lot of farmers and people in these areas have been fighting these big, massive, industrial scale solar farms. This is 6,000 acres. They've been fighting it all across the United States, and in some cases they've been winning, in some cases they haven't. Most of the time, what you see is local officials either approving the project or disproving the project. But in Oakrun's case, the local officials actually disapprove the project. They don't want it there either. So then how come Oakrun Solar is moving forward with it? Turns out Bill Gates has a lot more influence than most of us think. The Oakrun project was actually approved in March of 2024 by the Ohio Siting Board. The developer of this project is Savion, basically a subsidiary of Shell, oil and gas. They're creating clean energy. The scale of this project, just to give you an idea, it could power up to 170,000 homes and offer 300 megawatts of backup battery power to Ohio's power grid. It's a lot of batteries, a lot of lithium. Where are they going to get that from? The Appalachians? So this project gets passed at the state level, but there's 3 townships, Monroe, Summerford, and Deer Creek, which have all opposed this project, as well as the Madison County Board of Commissioners. So this is an example where you have what should be, you know, a county planning decision or a township planning decision that has been overridden by the state. Regardless of what you guys want in your own community, we're approving this because Bill Gates' name's behind it, and we're forcing it on you guys. Over 1,000 residents submitted comments during the comment period, most of which were against it. Almost all of them were against it. People actually coming up with irrational fears like losing productive farmland to produce the food that feeds them. Concerns over soil erosion, because you're going to be changing the biomes of the soil. Of course, Bill Gates has solutions for that. I'll do a whole other video on what's going on there. The risks of water runoff, and not to mention the severe fire risks that these solar farms create for these communities. And it's not just the solar farms themselves, but these massive battery banks that are going to be supplying 300 megawatts of energy or backup energy. And of course, for the rural farmers and residents of the area, having this 6,000 acre project right in their backyard is kind of an assault on their livelihoods. I'm all for private property rights and being able to do, what it is you want to do on your property. And I'll do another video, actually. We'll look at a case in Nebraska where, we have to start considering, are these solar farms actually agricultural uses? Are they proper agricultural uses? And, when you live in an area, when you choose to be a part of a community, you're choosing to be a part of that community for its characteristics. People who live in cities like living in cities because they like the city life. People who live in these rural communities live in the rural communities because they like the rural life. And we have local elections for city officials, for county officials, so that, we have a voice in what the future of those communities look like. We should have that right. So when the entire community, thousands of comments, 3 townships, and the county board itself all say, we don't want this, why should they be forced to have it? So at the end of 2024, just last year, the Madison County Board of Commissioners voted 2-1 to basically appeal the decision of the state to the state Supreme Court. And that they've basically said, hey, look, the state has overridden what we want. They've overridden what the local governments want. They've overridden what the rural residents of these areas want. They don't care about the voters. This isn't democracy. They're ruling over us. They shouldn't have the right to do that. In a sense, the state of Ohio, the state board, is overriding democracy for corporate profits, to benefit Bill Gates, to benefit Shell Corporation. So this case has progressed. Oral arguments were held in the spring. However, as of right now, we still don't have a definitive decision from the Ohio Supreme Court. And hopefully, if they don't win in the Ohio Supreme Court, they continue to escalate it. That said, in April of 2025, the Ohio Supreme Court did uphold another 350-watt solar project that was, again, the same type of situation. The Ohio OPSB board overruled local authorities, local voters, to put in this massive, solar farm somewhere else. The state Supreme Court ruled in their favor, and so right now it's looking like that's the direction that this is going in. Who cares what the people want? This is about corporate profits, and we're going to do what we want. This is not just a fight in Madison County. This is something we're seeing across the United States, where we're constantly seeing corporations coming in, buying up land, trying to build these things, and it's left up to the rural residents and farmers to fight for it's really one of our most valuable assets in America, and that's our fertile soil. These utility scale projects, they're seeking cheap, flat land, which translates to some of our most productive agricultural land. These decisions to override local communities, override the voters, to approve these massive fire hazards, amongst other things, are actually threatening the future of food security in the United States, unless you're planning on eating the patented made food that they make in labs powered by all of these projects. A lot of the arguments that I hear is that it's reversible. Like, we're gonna do this with this land now, let the soil rest, right? Rest with high voltage above it, because that's gonna do a lot of good things for the ecosystem of the soil that's gonna just thrive in that heat environment. And eventually it could go back to being farmland when they're done with their project, because we're always going to be done with at some point in time, we're going to be done with our need for power, right? But the reality is, if you look at the history of these industrial projects, they never reverse. Once the land becomes an industrial use, it never goes back to farmland. So this is a case that I'm going to continue to follow, not because of Bill Gates. I could care less about Bill Gates. This case, I think, is important because it's kind of a test case to see what's going to happen across the United States. Does democracy still work? Can we as rural citizens still control what shapes our communities, what our communities will be like in the future? Or is it in the hands of corporate power, corporate control, and profits? Right now, based on the Ohio Supreme Court's previous rulings, it seems as though we are losing our voice. We are losing our ability to say no. That's not what this country is about.
Every day, more and more Americans are waking up to the fact that our society is simply unhealthy. We've been being fed poisons and being told to put poisons on our body by corporate America for years. A lot of the things that we've been told were bad for us, like animal fats, are actually good for our bodies. Your skin is the largest organ of your body, which is why on Yanasa Trading Co., we're pleased to offer you guys bison tallow lotions and creams. These bison tallow lotions and creams are amazing. They're not made by a big corporation. They're made by a homesteader, just like you guys, our friends out of Canada, Dr. Nathaniel and Susan Ostashowski. We've visited numerous bison ranches and farms and parks across the entire continent of North America. And these are some really great people who have come up with some really great products, and you can buy them on Yanasa Trading Co. and support this program and support your health all at the same time.